Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Hurley Investments Market View Commentary for the middle of July, the 13th of July, 2020. My name is Kevin Hurley. I'll be with you here today, and I've got a lot to go over. But first of all, I was disappointed in looking at our market's movement today. And I'm going to use the SPX, especially since that was hit the worst. And I'm going to move it down to a single day. Yeah, that did not work at all. Let's try this a little differently. Boy, the short answer is the bottom fell out. Nice open, nice run. And really by 3 o'clock, we couldn't hold our gains by the day, and down we went. So out of curiosity, I always try to do some education through all this. Why? What caused that drop? If you were to give me an answer, what factor caused our drop today? Take a guess. There are no right answers. There are only wrong answers. Virus concerns up. I could take that one. What else? And if you don't know, type in a couple question marks. That just lets me know I don't have to wait around for people that might answer. But what caused our drop today? I mean, we were sitting really nice for a lot of the day. A couple question marks came in from people. Okay. If I was to give you a hint, we're in that earnings season, right? What happens 3 to 4 weeks before earnings? It's typically called something. If you were to ask me, the biggest drop today was the fact that, plain and simple, companies couldn't buy their shares. We didn't have the backstop of companies repurchasing their stocks. It just wasn't there. This is where companies are not allowed, for those of you that might not know, this is where companies are not allowed to buy their stocks, to artificially inflate their stocks, and then dump it before their earnings when they know they're going to have a bad earnings. Well, Kevin, it didn't happen last week. You know, I agree, it didn't happen last week or the week before. But we had really low volume, and big money probably wasn't in. They're all on vacation. Those sons of guns take so much more vacation than I do, it's unbelievable. But it's a quiet period where companies are not allowed to repurchase their shares of stock. They're not allowed to go and artificially inflate their stock to then dump it before their earnings when they know their earnings are going to be pathetic. So it seems like we're in our quiet period. As I went through and I reviewed the market recap, S&P closed higher for a second straight week, led by gains in consumer discretionary stocks. Not staples, the extra, the fun stuff, which doesn't seem to be restaurants or movies. Did seem to be Apple. Boy, Apple went right up to 400 almost. About time. Shocking it fell down so low. Even though a little shocking was the fact that China was going to place sanctions on the U.S. Came out Sunday evening. And our futures went higher. And I thought, wow, we're going to blow that off. And then came that last hour and the sell-off kind of hit the floor. Amazon has a competitor. Walmart's going to sell for $98 a deliver crap to your home subscription service. Communication stocks are up. Netflix did fabulous. I guess Netflix is this week, right? Technology took the lead, AMD and NVIDIA. It was another boring week, right? S&P up 1.74%. The neat thing for clientele as a whole, as we looked at things, we were up almost 3. As I go to my education group, as I went to my others, we had a pretty good week last week. Makes me think I should go on vacation more often. You guys really don't want to hear from me anyway, every week, right? Or if we just go on vacation, we'll have almost a 3% week. The market will have a 1.74% week, and we're just going to call it good. We're just going to be like, hey, these are the weeks we like. With that said, let's see how I'm going to bring this up. With that said, how would I say this? Let me just put it this way. One of the hardest things to do in option or collar trading is to let stocks move. Let's take a look at a couple of the stocks that we use or that we go through. And I'm going to shorten this down to like a 3-month period of time. Apple. For those that own Apple, got a question that came in. Yes, the Hurley Investments as a group was up 2.98%. Doesn't mean every account was up 2.89%, but as a group, we were up 2.89% last week. So a lot of people on Apple were like, put on your protection. And we have one big down day and everyone wants to put on protection. If you ran or raised your protection up on every single one of these big red arrows, Apple just went up $62 and you would have lost 12. Do we know that it's scary to see it go from 354 down to 332? You better believe it. That's a $22 drop. But let's talk about perspective. Perspective, $22 is roughly 6%. If you're trying to catch every 6% drop, you need to leave the market. But Kevin, it went from 372 as a high, not even a close, down to 351. $20 drop on 380. Do the math. Pretty simple. $20 divided by 372, excuse me, 5.3%. We're not going to throw protection on every single day we hit a high and every single day that we have a low. Why? Because that's day trading and it's a waste of money. Not productive for accounts, not going to help you make money in the long run, and it's difficult. It's very, very difficult. The key is not to catch every position in the wave. The key is to catch some of the wave. And if you keep giving it away, $15 and $15 and $15 and $15 and $15, and you don't lose all of it, you lose $10 out of the 15. $61 move, you just gave up 50. Little bit of patience. But Kevin, it's overbought. And I see it. I get it. It's Apple. It happens all the time. And again, there's a bunch of different stocks that we trade that people can see it on. Boeing, 234, if you had a 215 protection and it was put on the second day on the drop down to confirm it, good position to be in. Could have gotten out here, could have gotten out here, can get out here, and it's all the same. That's why we have the protection on. Disney was a big one. Kevin, you took protection off and it fell. Yes, we went up to 120. We took it off on Friday and it fell. But it held its pivot point. It held its pivot point at 115.78. We are okay with how Disney moved. Baidu, very interesting one. I recently spoke with someone on Baidu. Well, Kevin, you needed to protect it at 120 and 120 and then 130 and then 130 again. if you keep throwing it on and taking it off, you're going to overpay for protection, and you don't have the patience for the market. You have to give some room for your stocks to move. It's really that simple. It's also, you're not looking to make every penny on the way up or every penny on the way down. You just want to capture a portion of the wave. You guys have heard me say it a million times. Anything you make up on the way down is profit as things come back up. We are going to have a very I'm just going to use the word interesting earnings season. Why? Why are we going to have a very interesting earnings season? While you guys are answering that question, a comment was made. In the past week, I've been in the different couple towns, Bridgeport, Maine, New Hampshire. Smaller businesses are closing down, the small mom and pop stores. There's a small town, Oval, which marks the center of that town, that has very small different businesses. And most of them are cleaning out and they're closing down. It's amazing, in all honesty, how so many small businesses are not going to make it. And really that comes down to living on the hog when you have the money, and to not being able to have some money set aside. I mean, in all honesty, if my business were to be put on hold or suspended, I'd make it about 13 months. 13 months is what I would have available for getting by. Unfortunately, there were some small businesses that couldn't get by in a month. Most of them couldn't get by in 3 months. So the short answer on what's my take, it really comes down to the simple idea, and some of you may have seen it in your accounts. There are times when I am cash heavy in your account and the markets are going up. We might even be beating the markets. And the question is always asked to me time and time again, why aren't you putting all my money to work? A lot of times it's people that are like, you know, you're beating the market, we're doing really good, but you only have 60% of my money at work. And it's very interesting that if I can beat the market with only 60 or 65% of your money in the market, it really comes down to the risk factor. Some people are going to get called out of Apple here shortly. We're going to be cash heavy again. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of forgiveness happens in this earnings season. We're going to learn a lot this week with the banks. When the banks take off and have their earnings season, we're going to learn a lot on what kind of forgiveness or what kind of pass people are going to get on the banks. 3 comments were just made that I thought was very interesting. Kevin, supply management has a lot to do with the closures and the shutdowns also. Agreed, 100%. Some of the small businesses don't have the inventory coming to them, so they can't sell. It's actually affecting some of the larger businesses. I completely agree. But again, I would still go back to, I guess I know a small business owner that can't get parts for his auto body shop. But he made sure that he could literally furlough and close down some of his stuff, still pay his rent, still pay his machine costs, electricity, and make it for about 1.5 years. He has the people that want to work, but he doesn't have all the parts that are needed, the paint that's needed. And he's struggling with his auto body shop. Doesn't mean they're getting by great, but kudos to him that he's put some money aside to get through the ups and downs in the business cycle. It's a snowball effect going back to the financial institutions. We don't know yet. I know it seemed awfully hard the last year to get a loan. I don't understand where all this money has been to get money out to the public. And with all due respect, $1,200 for a couple. I've got a brother, $1,250. I think he got maybe $4,700. That stimulus was gone in a month. Most people paid off their credit card so they have some space for when things happen. I don't know if it'll be a snowball effect on financial institutions. I know, again, they have a lot of opportunity if they were willing to refinance, but that doesn't mean it's more profitable for them. JT does not work if there's nobody there to fill orders. What, just-in-time inventory? Very true. Just-in-time inventory, smaller businesses, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. And I would have hoped to see the business owners in some of these more profitable months sock some stuff away. But it does not happen. It does not happen. And I will probably go through a reset. We'll probably go through a reset on our economy as small business tries to get itself back on track. It's scary that we're going to have more closures, that California is going more on a lockdown. Man, I'd hate to be in California. What a bugger. What a bugger. You should be preparing for your earnings season. A lot of people ask me, Kevin, how do I prepare? I build a list. I type in Eli Lilly that I don't have. I go over to ETrade and I go into Eli Lilly. And I usually am pretty comfortable with ETrade. I go to their quote system, and the next earnings is 7:30 confirmed before the market opens. So I build my list so that I know when my stocks are opening here in the very near future. You know what really bothers me, though? If you want to know what really bothers me or pisses me off, kind of funny we're talking about this. Some businesses bug me. And most recently, I should warn some of you, you might get an ETrade financial letter that looks a lot like this. I'm going to use Dr. Gupta's. There are about 3 or 4 of you. But for some of you, or for most of you, I get your statements at the end of each month. Not that I have to, but I check against my records for the trades that were placed, what they cost, what we made, what we lost. I basically do what's called a blotter. I blot and I verify numbers for every trade that was done. Not that I don't trust ETrade, not that I don't trust Morgan Stanley, but what pisses me off is when they send you guys out a letter that says, hey, this K Hurley at Hurley Investments email doesn't work. I click on and go, bullshit. That doesn't make sense. They might want you to verify or update your correct email address. You don't have to, it still works. There have been 4 of you that have brought this to my attention. Dr. Gupta is kind enough to send this my way this morning. I know there are a couple of you that have also sent it to me. As of right now, it is nothing to worry about. The short answer is I even had them on a GoToWebinar and said, look, I've got 77 statements that came my way. What are you talking about? And the interesting is I even have Dr. Gupta's, he has 3. I have Lee that has 3, but I only use the main one. I've got Lance's, of course, Lance Bradford's is there. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to see as things come out. And I'm sorry, it's not Bradford, Lance Broadmoor, excuse me. So interesting to see that these are coming up. Kind of a pain in the butt. They can be ignored for right now. But earnings, we're coming up to earnings season. So as I'm taking a look at everything, I'm going to start preparing and protecting for earnings. Hopefully we'll get an update tomorrow. Our markets are still bullish. Nothing that caused me any concern right now. It's neat to see the 200 and the 50-day coming together. I would like to see a golden cross where that blue line crosses above the red. We'd have a golden cross and see our markets go 8% higher in the next 6 months. Technically, we're just getting our golden cross on the S&P 500. It's almost verified, probably needs a couple more days. But we'll see what kind of earnings pass the market gives companies this earnings season. And obviously the NASDAQ is up and they probably have already received their 8.3% golden cross bounce higher already. So nice to see, still bullish on all of our indexes. Nothing causes me any alarm right here. Where will the S&P end July 2020? I'm going to say up 1%. It's up a couple percent right now, but we're facing the doldrums and we don't know how we're going to have our earnings season. I do like that we had a pretty nice June. That doesn't always happen, which is good to see. Earnings season, earnings coming up, nothing on the immediate future that is huge. Alcoa reports on Wednesday, which is technically the start. Pepsi Company today, Citibank, Delta Airlines tomorrow, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of Mellon on Wednesday, US Bank Corp, United Healthcare, Alcoa on Wednesday, Abbott Labs, Schwab, Domino's Pizza, Honeywell, Johnson Johnson, Morgan Stanley, Netflix, Bank of America on Thursday, Autolive, BlackRock, First Horizon National on Friday. First week, and then we get into our bigger earnings coming the 2 weeks after that. Really, for us, it's going to be next week, the following week, and the first week of August. It'll be our big earnings season push. I did not look into any international this week, so it's something I could do. How am I looking to trade? I am still letting things run, taking profits, and preparing protection for earnings. I would expect earnings are going to be pretty bleak. The question is, what kind of pass will people get for guidance, for the future guidance and where we're going to go? All right, Biden tells donors, I'm going to get rid of most of the tax Trump cuts, and a lot of you may not like that. Just letting you know where your candidates are going to stand. If you want to pay higher taxes, both on a personal level and on a business level, please vote Democrat. Please take a look at who the vice president is, because it seems to me that Biden is fighting dementia, which probably means, in my opinion, and this is my conspiracy theory, probably means that we'll see, in some way, shape, or form, we'll see, let's just admit it, right? We're going to see a vice president maybe take over for Biden. CDC, U.S. has way too much virus to control pandemic as cases surge across the country. I'm really interested, and I know Maud will probably slap me for what I'm going to say. At least give me a quick kick in the pants. When I'm looking at cases, I think the higher the cases, the better it is going to be for us, because it seems to be lowering the death rate. And again, we had 3 or 4 days where the death rate really jumped up. But what I am trying to pay more attention to is, oh, come on, the daily death counts. Make it big, come on. Oh, I just want the United States. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I did a better job than this. Apparently I did not. Here we are. Get the USA. 3.5 million confirmed cases, 134,000 on deaths. So 134,000 divided by 3479, 3.8%. That concerns me. I'm not so worried about new cases because we're finding them all the time. It seems like we're taking more tests. But what I was looking at was lower highs and lower lows. And I was thinking we were plateauing until we had a week that killed it. I like seeing yesterday's. I don't know where today's numbers are. But again, the more confirmed cases, the better, now that we're testing so much more, because the more cases, the more people that survive it, the lower the death rate is going to be. Well, Kevin, the more people that get it mean more people could die. And I understand. But the current chart does not show that. Well, it's up higher. Yes, it's up for a week. But is it a blip? Is it all the rioters? Right? That's sad to say, but that's kind of a hope. Are we doing a better job protecting the elderly or the immune compromised? I really hope we keep testing more. I really hope that the confirmed case count goes higher. And I really hope that the death rate plateaus or even continues to head down. So with that said, Maud says I give up. I know she just wants to kick me. The more people get, the more they pass it on. But I give up. Brazil, Russia, and the U.S., most cases in the world, and I think U.S. is number one. Great again. Yeah, what a crappy thing to be number one on. I'm trying to look at it in a positive light, Maud, that the more confirmed cases, it'll lower the death rate to hopefully being a bad flu season. It's neat to hear that we're doing 700 tests a day now. I think the more people know, the more they can be separated and quarantined. The comment Maud passed on, the more people get, the more they pass it on. I also unfortunately agree with. I think we're a selfish people. I think people aren't willing to stay quarantined, and it's tough. It was pretty neat. I saw a little thing come out recently on, 80s kids. If you were born and lived through the 80s, and I think it was really the 70 through 80s. If you're born through 1970 to 1988 or 89, for most of us, this is like no big deal. We used to have earthquake drills and Russian nuke drills, and for us, it's just like, okay, we got to stay quarantined in our house. Some people consider it a vacation. Some people are scared to death of their small businesses. Some people are trying to find ways to get back to work. It was interesting because my two older boys are like, I'm trying to save for college. Dad, you're not going to let us go work at Taco Bell and at an old folks home. And so we shifted. We've done a ton of cutting down trees. Once again, this afternoon, between the market close and tonight, I'm out cutting down trees with my boys. I'm trying to find ways to get through it. And I think it's extremely difficult. For some people, it's extremely difficult to be cooped up. For some of us, we're kind of cooped up at home every day anyway. For some of us, it's extremely hard on a small business. Some of us are essential workers that, kudos to you guys, you've been out there fighting this and taking the risks since day one. A lot of us don't have to take those risks of essential workers. Maud, I'm trying to be positive, so don't kick me in the butt too hard when you see me. I do think that Maud's correct. The more people that get it, the more potential they have to pass it on. I would like to think that the more people get it, the more that they're going to be quarantined and get themselves through it. I do know 3 families in my neighborhood that have gone through it, and they've done quite well. It's amazing that some of the immune compromised people within the families did not get it. So for what it's worth, keep saying your prayers and keep finding ways to be positive and to help people out. Maud just says she's not positive, but what she's trying to say is I'm not positive about you. Oil major shell to write down up to 22 billion of its assets in the second quarter. This is also interesting to see in the energy sector how oil is taking a beating, and about time, because they ran the gamut for so long. And it's been unfortunate to see Chesapeake go bankrupt, but they are reorganizing. I would suspect all oil will get through it. I think the smaller oil companies will not. They'll be gobbled up by the bigger giants. And the neat thing is, maybe they will do a better job moving forward of streamlining and cutting the fat in their processes. Kind of a bummer when you have all of a sudden all these other countries, 7 or 8 other countries, that take that power away from OPEC for the pricing of oil, and we can't do it until we have oil at, $45 to $50 a barrel again. So it'll be interesting to see how the oil sector will reset themselves, who will come out winners and losers, and how they're going to be better prepared for taking that power away from OPEC and running it on more of a global scale to keep that price of oil in check. I'll be honest with you, I loved gas prices down at 166 was the low I saw in Utah, currently sitting in that 215 to 222 price. I love it. I think there's a lot to be said giving people purchasing power by lowering their gas bill by half. In my family, through this lockdown and so forth, I still do get out a little bit. For a while there, though, we didn't do anything for like a 10 to 12 week period. Boy, we were probably saving that $600 to $800 range. That's not true. And that $400 to $600 range for my family, it was nice to have that extra money at the end of the month. Ford sales fall 33% in the second quarter, all due to the coronavirus. People are out shopping for cars. Really, if you go through this, though, Ford did better than all the other major manufacturers, and it really comes down to how well will Ford do as they push their new product line for the F-150s. That'll be very interesting to see how they do. Boeing suffers a blow. Someone made the comment, Kevin, I'm not up 3%. And I know I probably need to help you work through the numbers. You're probably closer up to 2.2%. But yes, if you had Boeing and how far Boeing has fallen, that would be the reason why your account wasn't up at that 2.98% range. Doesn't mean that Disney, Baidu, or Visa might have not made some of that up. But yes, if you are in Boeing, then you are not part of that group that was in that 2.98% or really closer to 3.5% for the last week. But that would be the reason why right there. For those that are in Boeing, whether they're in leaps or the stock, a very interesting, great explanation of the cancellation from Norwegian. The short answer, to summarize it, it doesn't matter, and it was a bogus order to start out with, but it still doesn't affect the 9+ year backlog that Boeing has. They should be in good shape once they get themselves up and running. Definite excellent read, though, for everyone that has Boeing in any way, shape, or form. With that said, questions. What questions do you guys have that I can do my best to answer for you tonight? Eventually, some immunity will be naturally be occurring, won't it? I would expect so, Jim, especially in that oil business. I think what you'll end up seeing is some consolidation, and then you'll see, in all honesty, some type of help from a government level. Oil is still one of those industries that's not going to disappear anytime soon, and Trump being so pro-business, I would expect, all businesses should be doing pretty good with the bailouts when it comes to big business. Small business, I think it was a valiant effort. But again, I think small business that maybe did not prepare for the future as well as they could have, not saying it's an individual's fault. I'm just saying it's when you're high on the hog for a while, it's obviously really good to do the best you can in a small business to set aside something for the rainy days. I don't see any questions coming in. Let me just make one more comment then as we finish, and I'll wait for any other questions to come in. It'll be very interesting to see some things come back. Collar trading has been ecstatic. It's going to be great to see Boeing get back up to the 350 range. Some you will do significantly well as we picked up shares on the way down. Some of you will do significantly well as we've been profitable or slightly profitable in leaps and pushed them farther out in time. Patience. Patience is the key to trading. You want to be successful in trading yourself, or you expect your investor to be successful for you? No knee-jerk reactions, some type of system that'll make something on the way down, and something that you'd be looking at to make more on the way up. Under Armour, what do you think the outlook is for Under Armour as a company? Very interesting question. I keep paying attention to Under Armour for their cash on hand. How long can they hold off to get back up to the $22, $28 range? For me, comes 100% on to cash on hand and debt. They still have $2.30 cash per share. Their debt to equity ratio is still not $1, and their long-term debt is not $1. Their sales suck, but it's really all across the board. When I'm looking at them and what I see, why I like them, still institutionally owned, hardly down at all, a short float that is ginormous. Anything over 1.25 is huge. 3 is ridiculous. 6.54, ginormous. Literally, that justifies them trading at $9 being back up to 18, or a 50% increase very quickly. The key, though, the key is cash on hand. What will they do to get through it? How much cash on hand can they have available? Excuse me, to weather the storm. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. Nothing stands out as huge or bad for me. Income year to date being down $500 million. Not the best, obviously, scares me, but they still had 1.3 or 1.4 billion cash on hand last time I checked a month ago. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where they are. It'll be interesting to see how that short float gets taken out. I mean, 381 million shares short, that is just absolutely huge. That is somewhat ridiculous. So, very good question. They still seem to be doing okay. We shall see. The short answer is we shall see. A couple other questions came through. Dr. Gupta, give me about 10 minutes after we finish here, and I'll be ready for your call. Lance, I'll have your call when I'm done with Dr. Gupta. Jeff, I will call you tomorrow afternoon. All right, any other questions that you guys have? Anything that I missed? And Mary, I'm sorry, I will also call you tomorrow afternoon, but technically Jeff typed his question in ahead of you, so he's going to get preferential treatment. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Maud, thank you for being in the medical field and being a first responder. GV is also there. Dr. Gupta is also there. Again, thank you guys for allowing some of us to hide out at home while you have to go to work every day. For those of you that might be small business owners, fish more. The more you fish, the more food you bring home to your family. I know that sounds like crap, and my wife will look at me and go, "Are you serious?" But I'm just trying to be positive, honey. Guys, have a wonderful evening. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening for the trade findings and adjustments. Again, Maud, thank you so much for your conversations with me. And guys, I'll see you tomorrow evening. Bye-bye.